let's play Would You Rather, the board game. In this video, I'll show you how to set the game up and how to play it. Please note that for this video, I'll use the Animals Edition board game to demonstrate. Other versions of the game work in the same manner. Let's get to it. If you wish to print out the instructions, go right ahead. However, everything that's in the instructions will be explained in this video.
In order to set up this game, you will need 6 pennies or 6 quarters, although I prefer pennies. You will need a glue stick, tape, scissors, a 6-sided die. It's completely optional, however I highly recommend getting some of these trading card sleeves. Also optional, but highly recommended, getting some poster board.
If you take a look at page 3, you will see the circles that need to be cut out. These will end up being the game pieces. You're going to cut these out, and then you can glue or tape them onto either pennies or quarters. I personally prefer pennies, so that's what I'll be using in this video. Up next is the voting cards. You'll have to print these out, then you'll have to cut them out, and if you wish, you can place them into plastic trading card sleeves. That's totally optional, however I recommend using the sleeves as they add protection, make the cards sturdier, and will help for future use if you play the game again later down the road. Up next is the Would You Rather question pages. There's 15 pages to print out, which gives you 270 Would You Rather questions to play with during the game. All you gotta do is just print these out. If you wanted to, you could always glue these onto poster board, but the game will work just fine if you choose not to. Up next is the Would You Rather game board. If you wish, you can put the game board onto poster board by gluing it or taping it down. It's not needed, however I highly recommend putting the game board onto poster board. It will make the game board sturdy and preserve it for future use. Now that we're all set, the fun can begin and we can play the game. Before the game can start, make sure each player has one question page, and each player needs to have 2 of the voting cards, one A card and one B card. They will hold those cards in their hand. Every player will put their game piece on the board. Everyone starts on the yellow start space, which is a Would You Rather question. This is a turn-based game. The youngest player will go first. The oldest player will go last. The player going first will take their turn by picking up their question page. They will choose a question from the yellow category since the first space is yellow. For example, if they chose the first question that you see here, would you rather A, have the ability to control fire, or B, control water? They will read this question out loud. The other players will take some time to think about their answer. The opposing players will use their voting cards to either answer option A or option B. When they are ready, they will discreetly take their voting card, either A or B, whichever one they chose, and place it on the table with their hand covering the answer. The player who is making their turn, which is the one who read the question, will then have to guess what they think the majority answer will be from the rest of the group. The player will take their guess and either say A or B. Everyone will then flip over their cards to see if the guessing player is correct or not. If the player guesses incorrectly, they do not get to roll the die and their turn is over. However, if they answer correctly, they roll the die and move around the board the designated amount of spaces. Their turn is then over, and the next player will go. Players will keep taking their turns, asking Would You Rather questions, trying to answer correctly, and move around the board as fast as possible. The first player to reach the finish space wins the game. The instructions include an explanation for what each one of the spaces mean on the game board. However, I will go through it here. If you start on a yellow, blue, or green Would You Rather space, that means that you must read a question from that colored category on your question page. If you land on a go back or advance space, you simply just move your game piece backwards or forwards the designated amount of spaces on the board. If you land on the space that says send any opponent back 2 spaces, that means you can pick any opponent in the game and move them back 2 spaces from where they are. Also, on your next turn, you can choose a would you rather question from any of the 3 color categories. If you land on a roll again space, that means you get a bonus turn. You get to roll again and keep moving. You can land on a special space. When this happens, instead of using a question from your question page, you will choose 2 objects from the bottom of your question page in the special section. In this example, we're using animals. So, for example, if you were to land on the special space that said, which animal would you rather run away from if it chased after you? You would look at the bottom of your question page and you will pick 2 of the animals from the bottom. Those 2 answers will serve as choice A and choice B for the question on the board. And the rest of the game plays like a normal would you rather question. Everyone votes and the player will try to guess the majority. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you a ton of fun as you play Would You Rather. If you ever have questions, feel free to reach out. Take care.